about domain and range. What I'm really asking you is what values are x allowed to be and what values are y allowed to be. And to tell that from a graph, you have to look at what x values it covers on the graph. So let's take a look at the first example, this one up here in the corner. It just says example.
We should go to the board and do it.
Not yet. Probably tomorrow I'll have you do some of that. But so when I want to know what x values does it cover, which direction does the x-axis go on a graph? Left to right, right? So I want to know how far to the left does this graph go and how far to the right does this graph go. So I'm going to find the spot that's furthest to the left, and that would be this right here, and the spot that's furthest to the right, and that would be this right here. And I need to figure out what x values those are. Here's the center of my graph, by the way. That might be important to figure out. So if I count over, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right, and then I think it's also 4 to the left. Does that make sense where I got the 4 and the -4? Tyler, question?
Why does it say screen recording in the bottom left corner?
Because I am recording what I'm writing down up here.
For kids that are gone.
Right.
Wait, but
Can they hear us?
They cannot hear you. They
Darn
can
it.
hear me. They can hear like echoes of you sometimes, but for the most part, my microphone's right here. So.
I agree something, Tyler.
Okay.
No, I'm not gonna scream.
So I want to be able to say that this graph goes from -4 to 4 on the x-axis. Here's how I write it. All right, and don't let that notation freak you out. It's going to be the same thing every time. It's going to start with your smallest number, less than or equal to x, less than or equal to your larger number. And I'm using x because I'm talking about the domain. Okay? Now let's do the range. The range is going up and down. So I want to find my lowest and my highest point. The lowest point on my graph is this right here. Do you agree?
-1.
Okay, -1. Highest point is the very top. So again, you're counting up and down. This would be 8, I believe. And so again, I'm going to go from -1 to 8 using less than or equal to signs in between. Those same symbols are going to happen every time. This time I'm using a y because I'm talking about the range. Okay? So you're kind of boxing in your graph and you're saying left to right, up and down. Okay? Question, Olivia?
are they always going, like, are they always going up there?
Yes.
Bless you.
Yes. These symbols will always look the same way. Just start with your lowest number and go to your highest number. Okay? On number 1, by the way, there is actually a graph there. If you look like right here and right here, you'll see little dots. It's just really hard to see. This is just a straight line right here. Okay? So on number 1, it's, let's see, so here's the x-axis. It's 3 up from the x-axis. It's very tough to see. Actually, it took me like 3 years of doing this worksheet before I even saw it. I thought it was just a mistake and they didn't have a graph on there. But there is a line there. So tell me, look at the rest of this page. Tell me which one of these looks like the hardest one to do.
5.
Number 5 or 6.
Probably number 1.
5 or 6?
6 looks fine to me.
Okay.
Number 7. Probably
Number 9.
Yeah, number 9.
Okay. Let's look at 9.
9. Yeah.
Okay. Number 9, remember if I want to do domain, I want to go the farthest to the left and the farthest to the right that the graph goes. Okay, so here's the left, here's the right. Maybe I'll zoom this in some so you can see it better. Okay, and so this is it -7?
Sure.
And +7, I believe. So to write that, slide this over some. It's a giant picture of my arm. I would start at -7, less than or equal to x, because domain is always x, and then less than or equal to +7. Okay? So from left to right, that's where my graph goes. Up and down, this is still the highest point, but now I want to look at where it's at on the y-axis. So there's my up, There's my down. And so this, I believe, is 3. Does that look right? 3. And then this would be negative 3. So which number do I start with? 3 or negative 3? Negative 3, the smaller one. So negative 3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to positive 3. Okay, that side usually is pretty easy. Does that make sense what I'm asking you to do there?
Just because.
Yeah.
Okay,